Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a Nurse Joy within the Pokemon world? Obviously, it seems pretty easy based on the mainline games because you have the machine that heals your Pokemon in all of 3 seconds. But as we can see in the anime, it's a little bit more intense because we often see Nurse Joy and Chansey rushing Pokemon to emergency procedures and things of that nature. So, what really goes into being a Nurse Joy? Well, luckily, this fan game, The Last Nurse Joy, expands upon this idea of really being a Nurse Joy at the bottom of the earth, where you don't have one of these revive machines, and you have to do all the Pokemon healthcare manually. In this review video of The Last Nurse Joy, we're going to be looking at 2 big factors in this game, which is the story and then the gameplay. Obviously, since it's not a typical kind of like mainline Pokemon game made by the fans, there's not a whole lot of extra things to explore, just pretty much the story of The Last Nurse Joy and how they built their world, and then also the actual gameplay of it, because it is kind of unique. And special shout out to the Baby Quoorn Questers and the Full Cob Questers. Thank you so much for joining the channel and supporting my content with a little bit of money. I appreciate that. If you want to get awesome perks like the paying Questers get with their monthly memberships, hit that join button and look at all the amazing perks you get, such as badges, such as emotes, as well as first looks at fan games that I'm reviewing, and some very exclusive members-only video content. Now, without further ado, thank you again to all the paying Questers. Let's get into The Last Nurse Joy. So starting off, we're going to talk about the story of The Last Nurse Joy. So most Pokemon games take place in a region. This isn't so much a region, so much as it's the bottom of the planet. You are in the Pokemon equivalent of Antarctica at the Antaxius Research Facility. This is obviously a very tundra landscape, as you can tell. It's very, very unique and very cool because like you can explore the research facility as well as outside of the research facility a little bit, but it's pretty unique. So the story continues where you play as Nurse Joy Ada, and obviously you look like all the other Nurse Joys, but your name is different, and you even have a lot of in-depth emotions. Pretty much the story follows Ada and her journey to discover what it really means to be a Pokemon nurse, to be a Nurse Joy, because she hears from the mainland that there is this revive machine that everyone is using now, and they're the last place to get one. So obviously she has to take care of the Pokemon herself, which becomes kind of interesting because that's where you play the game and you can do all sorts of kind of unique things where you run into Skitties, for example, or Pikachus with the flu, and what you do kind of does impact them. Like if a Skitty is hurt and it has a fractured bone but you don't realize it, or you don't realize there's nerve damage, that kind of impacts you later on, where you think, your character thinks, are they good enough to do this? And the entire time you're just kind of filling in the gaps until this revive machine can show up and kind of be added to your routine. So you and Chansey, for the most part of the story, are taking care of the other people's Pokemon that they have on the research facility, but then things get a little bit unique. So aside from just taking care of your basic Pokemon injuries, some very unique things begin to happen. One of the big ones that first happens is one of the characters, Ditto, goes on a rampage, and because you're in Antarctica, if you're a horror fan, you're gonna notice a lot of similarities to the 1982 classic, The Thing, starring Kurt Russell. What's really unique about this is that the game developers of this took the opportunity to turn Ditto into a parallel of The Thing, because both of them are shape-shifting creatures and they can wreak havoc. So the Ditto is not very happy and actually lures you outside and then splits everyone apart. And then it turns into this really kind of wild adventure of, as the nurse, you have to go around and try to find the Ditto who's kind of playing the imposter. And there's lots of parallels to the actual Thing movie, because there's like a whole room of Arcanine, and the Ditto turns into one of the Arcanine, and you have to find out which one it is. Very similar to when the alien from the Thing, spoiler alert, turns into some Huskies in their dog shed area and starts like kind of killing them off. Luckily, the Arcanines are fine. You just have to use your nurse tools in order to find the Ditto and stop it. And then it evolves into people and stuff like that, so then you have to be able to interrogate every one of the crew members to find who the imposter is. So not only is it a little bit like the Thing movie, but it's also a little bit kind of like Among Us, except it's in Antarctica, not so much outer space. Another really unique story is expanding upon Gothitelle. So Gothitelle is a Gen 5 Pokemon. It's a Psychic type. I often confuse it for a Dark type, but it's a Psychic type Pokemon, and this Gothitelle is having some weird behavior. It's like in this deep trance state where it's not talking to anyone. People are having weird dreams throughout the facility, and what you essentially come to find out is the Gothitelle can actually transport you or show you visions of the future so that you can help prevent some not so great things from happening. And it even has a cool animation that like really expands upon its design that you don't really see a lot of in the actual mainline Pokemon games. And then finally, a really big unique story element is the Mega Pokemon that no one was truly expecting. So once you get towards the end of the game, a certain Pokemon that is a companion of you does get into a little bit of a sticky situation and actually Mega Evolve, which we've never seen this Pokemon Mega Evolve. I don't want to spoil it for you. The very final boss of the game and the first actual Pokemon battle you ever do is this Mega Pokemon that we've never before seen, 100% fan-made. And normally I don't like fan-made Pokemon in this sense, but this one actually works really, really well. I think it is a fantastic design. It doesn't try to make it too scary. It doesn't try to make it something it's not. It feels very much connected to the Pokemon, as opposed to like turning it into this like absolute alien monster. But you have to then figure out how to tame it, and that's actually where you do your first ever Pokemon battle. So there's Pokemon all over the research facility that are owned by other people that you can borrow and form a team around. And I would recommend really thinking about the team, because it is a tough battle. I will say that. It took me quite a bit of time to actually take it down, but it was still really, really fun and a really unique way to see this expansion on Mega Pokemon. And if you've made it this far in the video, please consider joining the YouTube channel and or subscribing. So joining the YouTube channel and becoming a paying quester gives you lots of awesome perks. We have 3 different tier levels. You can be a Kernel quester for 99 cents. You can be a Baby Quoorn quester for $2.99. And for $4.99, you can be a full Cobb quester. And these give you awesome perks such as badges, emotes, as well as early access to seeing some of my review videos or just getting review game updates, as well as early access videos, exclusive members only Discord channels, and exclusive members only videos. So be sure to check that out. Think about joining the channel. If you don't want to join the channel right now, I totally understand, but please subscribe, leave a comment down below, and like the video. Everything helps. All right, let's now talk about the gameplay of The Last Nurse Joy. So the gameplay of The Last Nurse Joy is actually kind of interesting. It's like a desktop application, so you have to use like a mouse and keyboard type of situation. And it's not quite an easy game to play, mainly from the aspect of like the puzzles of each sick or distressed Pokemon. So every Pokemon that comes in, that is like your main mission. Like if you get brought in a Skitty, then you are only treating that Skitty until you are done. And after you're done, you do get a ranking of what you do. So you want to make sure that you give these Pokemon the absolute best care possible. And there's lots of different like tools that you can use to your advantage. One of the really cool things that they have is this wall of books that you can actually look at, which gives you like a deep dive into like potential illnesses. You can get a deep dive into the elements. You can get a deep dive into just like Pokemon anatomy and even the like their features that might be used for breeding, that might be used for balance, like tails or like horns and other kind of appendages. So it's a really unique kind of situation where you can deep dive into the anatomy of Pokemon on a elemental level as well as a physical level, where when you have a Pokemon on your examining table, you can actually go view its anatomy. So you can see its bone structure, you can see its veins, you can see its like on a Pikachu, where the electric energy might be stored and things of that nature. So you know where you should touch your Pokemon when you're examining it and what the ailments might be. And then you have an area towards the back where you have lots of awesome like utilities. There's items that you can use to kind of help Pokemon not get at their wounds too much, or if they are bleeding, you can actually use gauze and prescribe that as part of the final solution to curing your Pokemon. There's food you can feed them. If your Pokemon are distressed, which they usually are when they first come in, you can give them food and you can calm them down. There's also really unique like items that you can use to kind of test like the psychic level of Pokemon, that you can test the like fire levels of Pokemon and things of that nature, as well as your basic items like your thermometer, blood pressure cuff, and like a needle for blood examination. And there's even like a toxic strip area. I haven't ever found a poisoned Pokemon, but it was cool that you could give your Pokemon x-rays as well as a toxicity test so you can see if they are poisoned by anything. But overall, the gameplay is a little bit difficult, not so much from a mechanic of like using the keyboard and stuff, like versus a controller, but more so it doesn't hold your hand very well, like at all, which kind of comes with the fan game territory of it's a lot of figuring out yourself. But what they also don't necessarily do is tell you if you do get a bad score. So for example, I had a Skitty that had a really bad injury on its tail, and I knew that there was like some bone breaking and like there was gonna be some nerve damage, but the only really remedies I could find at the time were stuff like, oh, you can give it a cone of shame to keep it from licking its tail, and you could give it gauze to wrap the tail and stop the bleeding, obviously. But ultimately I found out that the Skitty's tail had to be amputated because I did not take care of the actual structural integrity of the bones and like the nervous system in there. So there was a Delcatty running around with a nub tail, apparently. It was fine. It still was happy. It ended up joining me on my adventure, but it lost its tail, unfortunately. So what I would recommend is not just exploring your area. You are allowed to venture out into the rest of the research facility outside while there's a Pokemon on the examination table, because Chansey will watch that for you. And there's things scattered throughout the whole research facility that might actually be useful, as well as outside and things of that nature. Or you might run into a Pokemon that might actually be able to help you in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's also part of the game, is that it is really puzzle heavy, and you do kind of have to think outside the box. There very well could have been a character that had like a Pokemon that could string silk or something like that to make a cast. So those are some of the big elements of The Last Nurse Joy. It is a very short game to play. I got done with it in about 2 nights. Very minimal glitches. The only big glitch I had was I accidentally filled my bag up too much, and when your bag gets filled up, you kind of just lose that item. So make sure you do save often. That way if you do have to reset, like I did, you don't have to reset to the very beginning of your like playthrough or like where you last left off. But yeah, luckily not too many glitches, and overall it was a pretty fun game. Not one of my highest favorites. I think what would have made it better is honestly a lot more just generic, oh, my Pokemon has a cold, oh, my Pokemon might have broken its arm, or oh, my Pokemon fell from somewhere or got into a nasty battle with a wild Pokemon. There wasn't a lot of like basic level Pokemon care, which I get. You don't want to fill your game with that because it is a little boring and can get tedious, but I think more of that would have really helped players figure out exactly what they were supposed to do, or be able to get those higher scores whenever they were caring for a Pokemon, because that was the thing that I was a little bit bummed about. I wanted to get that Togekiss level of like wow, you're the best Nurse Joy, but I could never do it, and it never really told you how to improve, which would have been awesome if you were able to like think back to yourself of like, oh shoot, I later found out that so-and-so had this item. I should have used that and I would have helped Skitty. And then I would have known that I can go outside of the little Pokemon Center that's on the site. So that's kind of a thing where I wish you had just more, and it was fun to take care of them. The bigger overall, like trying to find the Ditto and the whole Gothitelle story was cool, but I feel like there could have been a lot more basic level, oh, this Piplup seems injured, what are you gonna do to help it type of thing. Just because you're a Nurse Joy, I get they wanted to make the game exciting, but that's part of the excitement is that we get to play as a Pokemon character we've never played as before, so it would be cool to do more actual Nurse Joy, very basic level like procedures and just caring for the Pokemon instead of like changing the future or trying to find an alien-esque Ditto. But that is Pokemon The Last Nurse Joy. I do hope y'all enjoy it. It's a very simple Google search if you want to find it and try it out for yourself, as well as if you join my Discord down below, we can help you find a download for it if you so choose. But otherwise, it's a pretty neat game. And yeah, Pokemon The Last Nurse Joy, very interesting concept, and I mean, I would recommend trying it out if you have like an afternoon or like a weekend where you want to try something different in the world of Pokemon. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Quoorn's Quest. And if you want to get even more updates, think about becoming a paying quester by joining the YouTube channel. It's all very small dollar amounts where you can actually get lots of amazing perks, such as early access to my game review videos, or just general updates as I play along the way, as well as exclusive members-only Discords and members-only videos. So hey, check that out. Think about becoming a paying quester. And if you want to see more Quoorn's Quest, check out the social media links down below. And if you want to see me play some Pokemon games live, I do go live twice a week from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. And that's all for this video. I hope y'all enjoy, and until next time, happy questing, y'all.